Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. Welcome to Proof of Work. I'm your host, Jerry Vada, aka the Crypto Oracle. Today's episode is called the BTC Strategic Reserve. Let's chat. But before we get into it, let's thank all of our sponsors. Let's thank my co-host and producer, Nick. Thank you for hanging out, as always. And obviously, let's get into our sponsors. Let's thank Quantum Expeditions. If you aren't aware what the team at QE is doing with Quantum Expeditions, they're taking wasted or stranded energy and converting it into Bitcoin. This idea has been around for some years now, and it's just getting more and more popular. And this is why me and Daniel Batten are two of the biggest proponents that, Bitcoin is an energy manipulation asset. And that's what really sets it apart from all this other technology out there. It's just not a monetary protocol. Our other sponsors are Shieldfolio. Shieldfolio helps protect your seed phrases. If you've been in crypto for some time, you know that you should be keeping some type of hard copy of your seed phrases somewhere. Because if you ever, lose a phone gets broken, etc., you can take your seed phrase, put it into another wallet, and bang, your stuff is still in the blockchain. If it is real blockchain technology, let me just put that out there. Real blockchain technology like Bitcoin or Litecoin. There's others we won't say. We won't get into that right now. But there's the QR code. You can either scan that or use Bitcoin Live. I'd like to thank everyone at the Organized Media and all the teams and shows that are on the Bitcoin Live network. And let's get into it. So we're going to watch a clip. Before we get into the clip, clearly, people think that nothing is going on behind the scenes, but we're about to disprove that and get into that right now. And you know what? Might as well just roll the tape. Doesn't want to play? Oh, it's gotta take you to the YouTube. I got you.
Yeah. That's weird. It's not playing. Wait. Let me try.
The Bitcoin race already started, but the biggest player hasn't entered the game yet. America just broke its silence on the Bitcoin reserve 16 months after Trump signed the infamous executive order. The answer is finally here. The reserve wasn't abandoned. It wasn't forgotten. It is being built. Hallelujah. And three of the most powerful departments of the U.S. government are now working to make it happen. We got the Justice Department, the Treasury Department, and the Commerce Department all working together to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States. Think about that. While everyone was asking what happened to the reserve, the government wasn't walking away. It was finding out how to build it. And now the White House has confirmed the structure is still being developed. That matters because America already owns 328,372 Bitcoin, but owning confiscated Bitcoin and building a permanent national Bitcoin reserve are two completely different things. One is an accident, and the other is a strategy. And now the United States is trying to turn one into the other. And there's already a bill, thank God, that shows exactly how serious this will become. 1 million Bitcoin acquired over 5 years and then held for a minimal of 20 years. That isn't trading. That isn't speculation. This is a generational Bitcoin stockpile. But here's where this gets much bigger, because America isn't making this move in an empty room. Every nation on earth is watching. Every central bank is watching. Every sovereign wealth fund is watching. And every government that owns zero Bitcoin now has to ask the same question. What happens if the United States gets there first? We all know there's only 21 million Bitcoin. Millions are already lost. Most of the remaining supply is already owned. And yesterday alone, US spot Bitcoin ETFs bought another $265 million worth. They practically bought up all the Bitcoin Saylor sold for the week. Go figure. Wall Street's still buying.
Yeah.
Public companies are still buying. And now the United States government is building a national reserve. This is how game theory begins, not with every nation announcing it at the same time, but with one nation moving first and every other nation realizing waiting is no longer neutral. Because once one government starts accumulating Bitcoin, every government without Bitcoin is choosing to stay at zero. And America isn't the only signal. We also have Vanguard, the $12 trillion giant that spent years resisting Bitcoin, now hiring a head of digital assets to build a multi-year roadmap. We also have New Hampshire holding a hearing on a $100 million Bitcoin-backed municipal bond. But look at the bigger picture. The price falls and the institutions keep building, the tourists panic and the ETFs keep buying. The headlines say Bitcoin is dead and the United States government keeps working on the strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's the part people keep missing. Bitcoin adoption doesn't stop because the price falls. It accelerates behind the scenes. The infrastructure gets built, the laws get written, and the reserves get structured. And by the time everyone finally sees it, the move has already happened. 16 months ago, Trump signed the order. Today, Justice, Treasury, and Commerce are working to make it real. So no, the Bitcoin reserve wasn't abandoned, it wasn't forgotten, and it's definitely not dead. It is being built. And when the United States finally finishes, the question won't be whether other nations follow. The question will be how much Bitcoin is still left when they do. Now forget the headlines. Listen to what the White House just confirmed about America's Bitcoin reserve. U.S. Justice Department Office of Legal Counsel says working closely with both the Treasury and the Commerce Departments to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This is massive, and I love the fact they must hodl for at least 5 administrations, which is effectively 20 years. That means they can't just reverse course when the next administration takes over, because there's a strong chance it could become Democratic. Also, as you can see here, Senator Lummis tells CNBC the U.S. military now supports her plan to buy that 1 million Bitcoin. Quoting her, "We have an economic war with China, and we have to prepare. Strategic reserve is happening." Brand new clip.
That there are generals, especially in Southeast Asia, who believe it's important to have strategic Bitcoin stockpile because we're doing an economic war with China and we have to prepare for a guns and bullets war. But we need both. And so all we need to do is look to the leadership of the current U.S. military to find support for a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
There you go. Call the troops, call the generals. Bitcoin strategic reserves are incoming. All I got to say to that, send it. There's going to be massive. There's 2 massive things for the U.S. on the horizon right now. One is Clarity Act. We're praying it gets passed this summer. And the other one is for them to proceed and start acquiring this 1 million Bitcoin stockpile. But my question still remains, where are they going to buy all this Bitcoin from? That's the question. Let me know your thoughts. Americans now hold an estimated 42% of all the Bitcoin. Who would have thunketh? U.S. is doing its thing when it comes to Bitcoin adoption, and I love it. If the president of the United States keeps $100 million in Bitcoin in cold storage, what are you doing to protect your Bitcoin? That's why today's show is brought to you by the Tangem wallet. I've now been using this bad boy for
there. But that last stat there is very important. We hold 42% of the Bitcoin, and that's probably the biggest chunk in the world. And this is very important. We already have a strategic reserve, right? Yep. The hodlers, right? The hodlers of last resort. We are the strategic reserve, right? Remember this. Let's be very clear. This is the reason that the dollar has not pooped the bed over the last 15 years, right? Because there's people that have figured out how to not only utilize Bitcoin, but they figured out the Bitcoin slide, right? We said this in a few episodes ago that Saylor was testing the waters, right, to see if the Bitcoin slide would work. And it did. Oh my gosh. Yes, when you have, all of this money and all this Bitcoin, you sell a couple thousand the other day, you shouldn't be surprised what he said at the very beginning, right? BlackRock and the ETFs are scooping it up. The whales. The only reason, right now I haven't invested too much into the markets is because I'm saving up for a trip. And
Where are you going?
well, you know where I'm going. I'm gonna be moving back east
Yes. Yeah.
to take care of my pop.
Yep.
And I tell people he's gonna be he's getting close to 85. I think he's gonna be 83 this year. And it's I love Oregon, but I can always get property out here or invest in a business out here or something like that. But anyway, this is the only reason I'm not like like buying daily stacks of sats. If I wasn't saving up to move back east, help like take care of my pop, I would literally be buying every day. I did buy some more can the other day because it was like I looked at a chart like a week ago. I'm like, oh, it's going down again. And I'm like, that's perfect for me because I'm a long-term investor. That's the way you should look at these things, right? I don't care if it's Bitcoin, equities. Obviously there are short-term markets that I don't play in, like FX and perpetuals and futures. Because I tell people, yes, you can be successful. Everyone gets lucky. Sometimes you get beginner's luck, but then as soon as you hit that wall and you can't figure it out, well, the market makers eventually come into your territories. Even that guy who was that big time trader from last year, who we've talked about on the show
Yeah.
multiple times. The market makers started attacking him because they saw, it's literally, it's all digitally done now. Like if they've got algos or bot networks running, right, they're going to see your trade and they're going to position themselves against you, right? Just like in the equities markets. If you don't remember, I forget, was it
Gensler?
Gensler? Yeah. Gary Gensler saying, 85% of your trades that are like a Robinhood and E-Trade and all these other, markets that interact with the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, these are all done in dark pools, right? Where you're literally the big hedge funds, their trades get done in like the first 15 minutes of the day. And then here comes all this other money from the plebs and it all goes into these dark pools and all these hedge funds then like are betting against all your positions. Why you always seem like you're in a losing position in sort even in crypto too sometimes, right? And again, but we're the hodlers of last resort. Like the strategic reserve is here, right? That's a big point I wanted to make, right? America holds a very big chunk of BTC, and that's very good. And that's due to Saylor as well, right? Like people don't realize, like Michael Saylor's is American as effing apple pie, and again, he did sell some this week, but it got bought right back up. He's showing you this is a real circular economy, right? Like he could liquidate, scoop the money up, take the money, put it in his coffers, pay his dividends, and then BlackRock's like scoopy, scoop, 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 scoop. And guess what? Oh, we're seeing Bitcoin. You don't need to have like this guy. Who's it? The co-founder, was it Zcash? Or Monero coming out saying we need to have more Bitcoin. No, bro. No, no. That's called the fiat system. That's called Ethereum. That's why I don't like Ethereum, and that's why I'm not a big Doge fanboy anymore, right? Because Doge supply is ever increasing. And even though they've kind of capped the ETH supply, you can print a gazillion coins underneath the ETH logo, just like Solana. And it's like, you guys need to just trim the fat, trim the fat. Don't know. You got to go through a process. You want to build a coin, you got to go through the foundation. There's rules and regulations and da. But nobody wants to do that because they want all this liquidity, right? They want all this liquidity. And then, if you understand some of the back end of this MEV information, right? If you've got algos and bots that figure that stuff out, then you're just extracting from these liquidity pools and taking money from, again, taking it from the plebs, and then it's like a scam light, even though it's legit and it's allowed to be done in these environments. I don't agree with it, because again, what starts to happen is you have all this inflated liquidity and you don't have scarcity. As soon as we have scarcity, right? It kind of writes all of these things that we see throughout like our entire culture, right? And we've discussed this many times, where free money leads to like crappy art, it leads to crappy food, it leads to crappy like the list is endless, like crappy toys, right? More plastic, right? As soon as we go off the gold standard, plastic shoots off the charts, because the oil companies are like, well, now we can make these polymers out of the resins that we get from we don't even use from the oil, and we can make more money and blah, blah, blah. Why do you think they don't want to remove plastics from stuff? Because the oil companies are attached to that as well, right? People don't want to talk about that. Nobody talks about that. But getting back to the point at hand, the United States is building, we can see behind the scenes here. I'm going to send you this tweet. And this is straight from, the president and the Treasury Department and et cetera, saying that, we are still working on it. And, as somebody who's been working in the space now for a long time, oh yeah, there it is. We have 300,000. This could greatly increase just over the next, couple of years, right? And this isn't hard to do. I said this time and time again. And that's great. We have roughly 25 in billion. If it goes back up to 100K, that's that number just keeps that's the other part that people don't seem to get. We're going to be rapidly approaching the 6, 7, 8 figure price Bitcoin in a very short time frame, right? And I know people still don't believe that can happen. We've seen it happen time and time and time and time again, right? Like, if you've been here, we've seen this happen many, many, many times. That's why this is not a bubble. Bitcoin is the anti-bubble, where it can create a new bubble and then pop that bubble, and a new bubble forms and pops that bubble, and a new bubble forms, and it breaks through a new all-time high all the time. Because why? Because all of this money needs to be protected. And if it's protected behind energy, it becomes even more real, right? And that's what the people who don't understand Bitcoin get, right? And as more and more of these energy companies start to realize that Bitcoin is not just a monetary protocol, it's an energy protocol, that's when we start to see, well past 300,000 Bitcoin, right? 10 million Bitcoin, $100 million of Bitcoin, because all the oil companies, all the LNG companies, all the solar farms, all the wind farms, all the hydro dams, like in Paraguay, they figured this out real quick. And my theory, and this was just not my own theory, but it's been a theory in the early era of crypto, is that the emerging markets will leapfrog. And if you just look at a picture of merchants accepting Bitcoin around the globe, who's got the most right now? Africa. Like I've been saying, look out. Africa is going to become a Bitcoin haven. And what you're going to see at the micro level, we see in El Salvador happening, right, with their Bitcoin development, we're going to see throughout the whole continent of Africa over the next 10 years. And watch literally Africa become like this superpower of energy and Bitcoin dominance. That I've been saying that for some time. I was thinking maybe just a few countries. Now that I saw this map the other day, and I wish I would have bookmarked it. I did it because I didn't even think I would pull up this reference. But when I saw this, obviously, there's a ton in Latin America and South America and North America and Europe. But when they hovered over, like zoomed out over Africa, there was many, many, many countries in Africa, not just South Africa, not just in Egypt, and not just in like, some of the more vibrant economic areas of Africa. We're starting to see it all over Africa because of why you don't need to show them ID, this, that, the other thing, and it takes 2 to 4 weeks to get your bank card and your documentation. You can build a wallet like that, right? And in this day and age, you can get a free wallet on tons of in tons of jurisdictions from North America, Africa, South America, etc. So you don't even have to build your own wallet anymore, right? You can go get your own self-custody wallet, right? They're like, here's the keys, right? And that's what you want to look for. And again, we're just going to keep seeing the expansion and expansion, as Daniel Batten and I've been stating that, Bitcoin is an energy manipulation, not asset and protocol. And that's huge. That's super huge. And that's why, even before I figured that out, I figured out that the M2 supply is just going to keep growing, right?
Yep.
And if that happens, I mean, Bitcoin has no top, right? If the M2 supply keeps growing, that's why when I tell people Bitcoin's price action equals infinity, the people that understand math and thermodynamics and physics go, correct. The people that don't, they're like, no, that's impossible. No, it's not. If they keep printing money, Bitcoin can go to insane numbers. It could go to $1 billion of Bitcoin. Not joking. And I was the first analyst to say this, and that was just me speculating in the spur of the moment where I was going, oh my gosh, if the M2 supplies increased 100x over like that last, 100 years, well, it could easily 20 to 50x over the next 10 to 20 years, right? And that's what I think we're about to see. And perfect segue into the next little clip that I'm about to send you from Lawrence Leopard, where me and him are in total concurrent that they have to do this massive print again. And I know you're probably just about get it right now, but let's watch this when Nick can pull it up, because I know we're doing this on the fly.
No problem. I got it right here, and I'm gonna scroll down. Here we go.
What they say, like, once is an accident, maybe two is a coincidence. The third time, it's kind of like, what the hell? Do you know what I mean? '08 they printed a lot. 2020 they print a lot. What the next one comes? Oh my God! I mean, it's kind of be like, wake up, And so if and when that comes, and the high end of the power law, which I use as a model for modeling kind of, Bitcoin price. I mean, we could easily go to 350 or something on this next run up. I mean, in my view, I'm not saying we will, I'm not saying it'll sustain itself there. It probably wouldn't, it would then correct back to, 148 or something, or 160, if the patterns are kind of continues with a 50% correction. But the point is that, but yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, it's interesting. And I think somebody did a poll on X recently. Is this worse than the FTX price? Is it 15? And I think it kind of is, because none of us can point at something and explain it. I mean, and that one you could look at and say, okay, I get it. FTX blew up. Everyone's down on crypto. Blah blah blah. Everyone just ran away. Fine. But here we are, and it seemed like we were doing so well. We had a couple of peaks up in the 100+ area, and then suddenly, like, without anything really negative happening to the protocol or inside the protocol world, it's just kind of like it just backed off, and it's kind of like, huh? And what's going on? I think it goes to the other shiny object, the AI shiny object, and it also goes to, there's tourist money in all of these markets. There's gambling money in these markets. I mean, that's, in a world where you're getting debased, everyone wants a quick buck and everyone wants to gamble. And so, so they'll ride it when it's working, and when it stops working, they'll exit it and try and go find something else that's working. Do you know what I mean? And that's not really what this is all about. I mean, it's, this is a long-term trend, and you gotta buy the dip. And so yeah, it's tough, but I mean, and Bitcoiners should take comfort in the fact that the other two forms of sound money are, flat on their ass right now as well. The same kind of story, really. I mean, look, I mean, imagine you bought silver, 4 months ago and you paid 120 for it. It's in the 50s now. Imagine you bought gold, paid top dollar for gold at 5,400. It's down in the 4,000s now. I mean, look, this is just, to me, the biggest explanation. There are two explanations for what's going on. One, the other thing is, it may be a leading indicator that liquidity is getting tight. I mean, Luke Roman, I think, has always said that, Bitcoin's kind of the last functioning liquidity alarm. And so when money gets tight, you sell what you can. It's easy to sell Bitcoin. And so maybe this is an indication that, we're about to experience a real, tighter monetary environment. We'll see. I mean, I watch the stock market very, very carefully, and I'm not sure. I've given up predicting when it will top, but I do know that it's very overvalued. And I also know that the government, as a matter of policy, the put on the stock market has really become more or less a matter of government policy. I mean, Greenspan started it, but it's gotten only worse over all the years. And so, a very severe market correction, which then rippled through private equity and a lot of, other things going down. I mean, the thing to keep in mind about business cycles is that they're reflexive, and that, somebody borrows, they buy something, and then the other person gets some money and they use and they borrow, and they, leverage on leverage on leverage. It works great and it feels good when you're going up, but it doesn't feel so good when you're coming down.
Don't feel good when you're going
down. The government's
down,
in the
bro.
business of printing the money to try and stop it going down. And so, that when we start down the other side of the slope, which could happen at any point in time, that's when the money print comes. And that's when, this is, and people are gonna say, oh my God, they're printing like crazy. Here comes the inflation again. Where can I go? And, we know the choices. So it's all coming. It's all coming. It's just, it's difficult to ride this roller coaster and to take a multi-year view of it. And it's no fun. I mean, I get it. I mean, this is no way to run a railroad. I mean, and I put the blame squarely on the Federal Reserve because, if you look at the history of interest rates, this is in my book. I mean, it took interest rates down to zero. I mean, what's that all about? I mean, that's inviting bubbles. And so we've got a bubble, it burst. We got a bubble, it burst. Now we got a bubble in AI, that's going to burst. And so but they've got a solution for that. They'll print more money. So that money will go somewhere and they'll create a bubble in something else. And eventually, and it certainly will add to inflation. So, the point that I think, you made earlier, and I just completely agree with, is that we just got it. This isn't just about getting richer, which, if we're right, we all will get richer. This is about destroying a system that's fundamentally broken and hurts millions and millions of people. And so it's more than just getting rich. It's about voting with your feet to say, no, I'm not playing your game. I'm not holding your money. I'm not holding your bonds. I'm not staying in dollars. I want this thing that's the sharpest spear in the sound money, arsenal. And I want to stab your fiat monster right in the fucking heart and kill it.
I love that. This is why people love Lawrence.
That's where I'm at. And by the way, I hope and I think if we do that, we'll benefit, no doubt. But that's actually a secondary effect. I mean, the first effect is to get rid of the fiat monster, because it's the fiat monster that funds the wars and funds the corruption and creates a lot of the shit that's bad in the world. I mean, the average human being doesn't want to go kill other people, and yet governments do that all the time.
Yeah,
and like, what the fuck, So
I think
they do it because they can afford to do it, and they can afford to do it because they print the money.
Yeah, and what he fails to point out is not only does the governments of major superpowers do this, but even the MNCs of these superpowers do this, right? And that's pretty crazy, and that's not an exaggeration. You can look that up. but getting back to his point at hand, I'm going to send you this right now. If you could pull this up, this is from the South Korean stock market. Just I think yesterday or the day before. Yeah, yesterday.
Looks healthy.
Yeah, you can see that we're starting to see the beginnings of exactly what he's talking about. It's we have all these bubbles forming around the globe because there's just too much free money, from Japan to the Korean markets to the Chinese markets, right? All of these markets, the US markets, all these markets are overinflated. Yeah, look how much how much of a bloodbath was wiped out in a half an hour on what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're in a 200 trillion won. So I don't know what that is. Let me ask Siri if she knows.
Yeah, one is pretty high on average.
Siri, what's 200 trillion South Korean won in dollars?
That would be 132,743,900.
About $133 billion.
Still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I don't care how you spin it. Millions is a lot. Billions is a lot. So again, we're starting to see, Japan's overprinting of the yen, which I've been discussing for ad nauseum for almost like a decade, that this low interest rate that they've been running, this scam is gonna just eventually collapse in on itself. And one of the major factors is that they have a very low birth rate, right? So they have a very huge elderly boomer population going into retirement, and they just don't have the growing younger generations to fill those gaps in so many sectors, from construction to technology to sales to retail to whatever, you name it. That's why you're going to see probably Japan become like one of the first serious robotic countries. And
I always say that Japan is ahead of China, right? China is sort of emulating Japan in many ways.
yeah, I mean, and Japan's always led when it comes to technology, but now when they have these problems, right, they have to solve them somehow. And the only way to do this is, they're going to have elder care robots, right, helping take care of these people in nursing homes. They're going to have construction bots building buildings and etc. Because they just don't have it. And this is one of the reasons, right now Japan is opening up, which is one of the few countries in the world is very strict with their immigration policies, is now saying, hey, come to Japan, move in, gaijin. And we'll give you a place if you have enough money, etc., blah blah blah. It's in the right jurisdiction. And this has been happening throughout Europe, in Italy, in Spain, and now we're starting to see this in Japan, because we have such low birth rates. This is another reason I recommend people, if you are into Christianity, become a Catholic, because we love kids. And we do, because children are angels. Once you figure that out, you are heading in the right direction. Anyway, I think you wanted to share this. What's this about?
This one is about the Japanese yen.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. You know me, dude. Anything on the yen collapsing, let's talk about it, because, I mean, it's happening right before our eyes.
A short clip from James Levish.
Let's do it.
You've got rates going up. You've got the yen collapsing in the face of it, which is telling you that basically it's telling you that investors in Japan, they don't believe that the rates are high enough for them to be compensated for the risk of continued expansion of spending out there. And so, I'm not saying the yen is collapsing, but I'm saying the confidence is falling in it, and people don't want to be holding yen. And so that's another issue. So
And you're just seeing all these things play out in real time. I would not want to be in either of those seats. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't want to be in Besant's seat trying to manage all these deficits and just watch Congress continue to pile on more and more spending, have absolutely no solution for Social Security, which I've paid into all my life. And suddenly they're talking about, oh, we're just going to start cutting it. What do you mean cutting it? It's not even keeping up with inflation. Are you kidding me? You know, like you've got to be joking. So you'll have an uprising here if we do that, especially with people who really, really, really need it. But so these guys have a pretty big problem in front of them here, and it's obvious what the solution is. It's just, how are they going to do it? What acronym are they going to put on it? And can they get away with it in a way that doesn't cause a massive spike in the separation of wealth in the short term?
See,
Yeah, so that's, a nice summary of Japan and the reaction to it by central banks. I did see a video by a new one by Lynn Alden, and she still believes and subscribes to the gradual print, that they don't want to lose control of the situation. And she also pointed out that one of the other reasons that the Bitcoin price sort of was not super high last time was also because of these treasury companies, because you can basically buy the treasury company and then get a leverage on Bitcoin, so you don't need to buy Bitcoin itself. So that was, according to her, it was one of the reasons why the Bitcoin price was not spectacular in the last run. And of course also the crypto community as a whole is sort of disillusioned because the altcoins didn't really have a run last season.
Well, here's the good news. I didn't mean to cut you off, but so my new theory is everything's coming back. Everything. NFTs, meme coins,
I think
utility
you're right.
coins. Yeah, like everything's coming back. And there's several reasons why. One is
they were built for a reason.
the new pattern, right? I don't know if you're familiar. I shared it a few times. I even went into my old Telegram group where I haven't posted in probably 6 months to a year, just because I've been more
welcome back.
Yeah, you saw that, huh? I literally let people know it's like I'm seeing a lot of the indicators, and the first is that chart. So I'm gonna send that to you right now, and it's from Bitcoin News too. And it was some kid, which nobody's seen the kid in like a couple of weeks. They think somebody might have taken him out. I pray that that's not the case. Amen for this kid, because he's in the video clip. I'm sending that to you right now. But the bottom's coming. This is like 100% in. October's the bottom, but here's the clip. Let's watch it, and there's no denying it. Just roll the clip, and yeah, make it. If you could blow it up, that would be great.
Yep.
Out. Bitcoin buyers just came back after 10 straight days of selling. That alone isn't what caught my attention. It's when they came back, because Bitcoin has been repeating the exact same cycle down to the fucking day. Not approximately, not within a few months, the exact same number of days. 1,064 days. From the bottom to the all-time high, then 364 days. From the all-time high back to the bottom. And somehow, Bitcoin repeated the exact rhythm for 3 consecutive cycles. Now, do the math forward. Bitcoin hit its latest all-time high of 126,300 on October 6th, 2025. Add exactly 364 days, and Bitcoin's next cycle bottom lands on October 5th, 2026. Then add another 1,064 days, and Bitcoin's next cycle top lands on September 3rd, 2029. 2 dates already sitting there. Inside the same mathematical pattern Bitcoin has followed for more than a decade. October 5th, 2026, the next cycle bottom. September 3rd, 2029, the next cycle top. And if this clock is still running, we may already know exactly when Bitcoin's next bottom and next all-time high arrives. Now, here's where today's reversal becomes interesting. For 10 straight trading days, money was leaving the major Bitcoin ETFs. Then suddenly, the streak ended. More than 221 million flowed back into Bitcoin ETFs, marking their largest daily inflows in more than 60 days. BlackRock clients, buying. Fidelity clients, buying. Morgan Stanley clients, buying. The same dip that pushed everyone else towards fear brought the buyers back. And again, the amount itself isn't what matters. 221 million isn't enough to change Bitcoin at all, right? The timing is what caught my attention. Because if the historical clock is pointing towards October, then the most important question becomes, what happens between now and then? Does Bitcoin continue falling towards another cycle bottom? Do buyers keep returning every time the price drops? And how much Bitcoin will the institutions accumulate while everyone else waits for certainty? That's where the pattern becomes uncomfortable. If October 5th, 2026 really is the next cycle bottom, then Bitcoin could keep falling for another 3 months. The buyers returning today wouldn't mean the pain is over. It would mean something far more interesting. They're buying anyways. Before the projected bottom, before certainty returns, before anyone knows whether this exact day clock will repeat again. That doesn't mean Bitcoin must follow the exact same clock forever, but after more than a decade of repeating the same pattern, I'm not ignoring it. Let me know if you are, because if October 5th, 2026 really does become Bitcoin's next major cycle bottom, then today's price isn't the most important number. The calendar is. And if September 3rd, 2029 eventually becomes Bitcoin's next cycle top, then this entire sequence will have repeated again down to the exact day. That's why I keep coming back to those same numbers. 1,064 days up, 364 days down. Then 1,064 days up again, and 364 days down again. Then another 1,064 days to Bitcoin's latest all-time high. Maybe the clock eventually breaks, but until it does, October 5th, 2026 is now a date I'm watching. And today, after 10 straight days of money leaving Bitcoin ETFs, the buyers just came back. Maybe it's a nothing burger, or maybe the next Bitcoin reversal has already begun. So forget what I think. I want you to take a look at the pattern for yourself and you decide. Play the video, JV. Check this out, yo.
Literally shaking after finding what I just saw in Bitcoin. I feel like I'm gonna get posted and I'm gonna be like washed or something after I walk around my house in it. Look at this chart of Bitcoin. Notice anything suspicious? Oh, maybe every single all-time low and all-time high run were the same exact amount of days. I'm literally in disbelief. Look at this. 2014 to 2017, the exact day we made all-time highs was 1,064 days. Okay, whatever. Doesn't mean much. Okay, 2017, 2018 went back to all-time lows, took 364 days. 2018 to 2021, when did we top out? The exact day, Monday the 15th, 2021 November. How many days was it? 1,064, just like the previous run. Oh, and what do you know? From that exact top back to the low, 364 days. Okay, Monday the 8th of November to Monday the 7th of November, 2022. And what do you know? This run from all-time lows to all-time highs, 1,064 days again, all the way from Monday the 7th November 2022 to Monday the 6th October 2025. So what does that mean? That basically means we know exactly when Bitcoin's going to bottom out. This shit, if accurate, which it should be, there's less than a 0.00001% chance it's so random.
Pretty wild. Very hard to ignore that data considering it's been 3 consecutive cycles. 12-year span following the same pattern. So if it repeats again, that's going to be pretty wild. So these dates should at least be on your radar. And you got to let me know your thoughts on this. I'd love to read the comments out loud here in a
Yeah, so again, the bottom's in October, right? It might not be October 5th exactly, but I would say within a few days, right? Let's be clear.
Usually July is a good month, and then August, September are really bad months, right? So makes sense.
Yeah, traditionally, if you pull up a chart, I don't have one right now, but if you could pull up that other chart from Vivek, this is where we're going, right? Like it's not going to just be like and again, even though I think this chart's probably more realistic, I think it could be more violent than this because you know, we do have so many tools that can hold the beach ball underwater for so long. The first thing we have to look is, you know, we have, you know, he's showing you know, the typical what they call a cup and handle pattern, where if you look on the lower set you can see the cup form, right? And then you see that that bull flag form right at the top of that. That's called the cup and handle pattern. And those are always bullish. The only more bullish pattern is what I call the extended arm pattern. If you're looking at a chart, it literally looks like a 20-degree angle like this, and like a flag's forming here, and it looks like it's almost like a hand forming. Oh my gosh, those are the ones I like. They're
It's the
even
hand of
more.
God.
Yes,
So
literally. That's what it is. It's the hand of God. And the next candle sometimes is like, a massive, massive green candle. And that's a huge indicator I've seen time and time and time in crypto, especially in crypto charts, where if I see that pattern forming, if I've been buying that asset, that token, that coin or whatever, I will buy more because I know it's about to pop, and then I can get rid of some of it or liquidate my position at that point. Those are the charts I look for when I do swing trade, right?
maybe you should coin it the hand of God.
Yeah, the hand of God chart. Yeah, I mean, it's a great one. It's very true, and a perfect segue into, I'm going to be trying to, write this essay that, God did send us Bitcoin. And the more and more you look at Bitcoin, you start to realize that this is insane, right? And I am going to start the piece with that Da Vinci quote because that's, was written almost 500 years ago. It was like 493 years ago, I'm pretty sure.
And you grabbed that screenshot from a documentary, right?
Yeah, it's literally from like a Vatican documentary about Leonardo da Vinci, right? And I'm just like, had no idea. Like, I'm just going, nerd Jerry, let's learn some stuff I never knew about Leonardo da Vinci, right? That's all I was going into it. And then they're like, here's some of his journals that we've never shown anybody. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Let's watch. And then they showed that clip, and I'm like, invisible coins, like what? Like, how could he talk about invisible? Like, the quote is here. I have it like all my phones because it's like
Please
in my
grab
save.
the link to the documentary.
Yeah, I can't find it. It was like on Amazon. I'm gonna search for it because that's like one of the reasons. Because people are like, "Where's that documentary? I want to watch that documentary now." And it was like years back, but it is in my saved albums. Hold on. And people think like I just used like a meme generator and made this. I'm like, no, this 100% no, it's 100% true. But this is the quote from Da Vinci: "Invisible coins will lead to the triumph of many who spend them." Say what? Say huh? Let me repeat that. Invisible coins will lead to the triumph of many who spend them. Leonardo da Vinci, right? I know. Let me see.
But then we should also spend our Bitcoin, right? Because that's sort of
Well, yeah. Again, that's the one thing is that people have to realize. Like when I'm telling people like about Bitcoin, and we're just talking about Bitcoin, right? You should have a cold storage wallet where you're saving, right? You got $20, extra $20, you buy more, $20 on Cash App, you get to like $100, you're lightning it to your wallet or whatever the case may be. Preferably if it's cold storage, leave it at L1, right? Like, I mean, I know we're talking in the technical weeds, but most of the people watching here, there's like 30 people watching, they know what I'm talking about. You want to save your sats on a cold storage L1, and then you want to have a big section of sats in a L2 wallet, right? Like I always recommend the Aqua wallet. I think the team, Jan3, Samson Mao, and those people, they are straight up OG, good hearted Bitcoin people. That is a good wallet. I tell people it's easy to use. They give you the keys if you want them. I have been having problems with getting my keys because like I hit the button to get my keys and the last seed words are cut off on my screen and there's like no workaround. But I think that's because I use an older model phone because I'm a security dork and I have realized that you hold on to these devices, the longer the better. Like it just always do that. As somebody who worked in telecom for many years, having the most updated device sometimes isn't the best, right? They have to patch these older devices in, and sometimes they run better, they run longer, and have better security. And oh, you see that I do have a thumbprint scanner on my phone still, right? And I know there are Android models that do that, but I want an actual biometric scanner, and the SE iPhone has that. If you didn't see that clip of John Kiriakou from a few months back, it's hilarious. But John Kiriakou was a CIA analyst. He worked all over the world, but he started in Greece, and then he's worked in Karachi and Afghanistan and all over Pakistan, etc. Anyway, he coughed up some secrets years ago during the Obama administration. They threw him in jail. He got out. He started doing speeches and interviews and talking about the CIA, talking about other stuff. Anyway, this clip, he comes up and he's like, "You have an Android device?" He's like, he's like, "Yeah, we first started the CIA. Everyone had an Android device." Until we realized, yeah, that's not secure. And then he's like, what are you doing? You want to give the Chinese and the North Koreans all your passwords? I was like, surprise! Here's a CIA intelligence officer, former intelligence officer, telling you Apple's more secure. Hello. I've only been saying that for like 10 years. Just throwing it out there for all the people who are worried about security, right? Android gives the keys to everything, right? That's the Google, right? Google gives out the keys to all your stuff to everybody. Sure, here you go. You want to see what they're doing? Apple, they kind of let you line item veto stuff, right? Do you want them to have access to your location? No. Do you want them to have access to your text? Heck no, right? Android has started to give a little bit more customization back that way, but not at nearly as much as Apple does. But that's just, like I said, security, right? But anyway, getting back to the point at hand, you want to have a cold storage wallet. You want to save sats into that wallet, right? And not touch it, right? That's like you're 10 years down the road. You're trying to invest in a business. You're trying to buy a property, whatever. That's what that's for, right? You don't touch it. The other wallet, your Lightning wallet, like I said, I do recommend Aqua because it's very easy to use. They only take a sliver of sats when you do a transaction, compared to some, exchanges who are like, oh, no, 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 no. Even Cash App's not bad. Sorry, they're doing construction across the street. I have the door, the screen door open because it's like going to be hot today, and I'm trying to cool it downstairs. But yeah, you want to have a chunk of sats in a Lightning wallet so you can spend them, right? Because Bitcoin is a circular economy, right? We just learned that at the macro level this week, right? Here comes MicroStrategy. We're selling 3,000 some Bitcoin or whatever they sold, right? It was a
tiny bit.
Yeah, a couple $100 million, which is a lot to me and you, just teeny bit to Michael Saylor, and it's enough.
I wouldn't mind be on the receiving end of
it. But it's a teeny bit to him. But like we said, the ETFs came in, scooped it up. We have whales buying, right? We have plebs buying. Like, even though I didn't invest into Bitcoin directly, I invested it into my Bitcoin company, right? Like, Canaan is one of the biggest Bitcoin mining companies in the world. Even though people still will poo-poo on my investment, they actually make ish, right? This isn't like a strategy. This isn't a Bitcoin treasury company. They make ASIC miners and ASIC heating equipment, right? That can be bought and people buy and use, right? Like Genesis Mining has been buying Canaan equipment for years, right? That big farm that they're putting out in West Texas with Marathon, guess what they bought? They bought all Canaan ASICs. So it's only a matter of time before Canaan goes from the 30 cents that it is, and obviously not investment advice, but I've been doing this for a while now. It's only a matter of time that we get to another couple of quarters. Bitcoin gets to its bottom, right? We get through October and it does get back to 120. It gets to 300. It gets to maybe even $1 million. At that point, Canaan's balance sheet literally does a gamma flip, right? Where it's like before, they're still, their PPS is very in the negative, it's very in the red. But if Bitcoin goes to like 200K or 500K, well, literally their balance sheet does this gamma flip where, wow, now they have all this Bitcoin and it's valued at such an amazing amount, that their PPS at next quarter does a gamma squeeze, right? And then they're like, oh my gosh, their PPS per share goes up, several 100%. Well, then it goes from 30 cents to $1 or to $10. I think the all-time high is around 30. I think it gets somewhere between, eventually when Bitcoin does get into the seven figures, I think Canaan's a couple $100, maybe even $500. But that's pie in the sky kind of thinking. I think like around 100 is probably reasonable. But you never know. And you never know if they will do a stock split, because then that can take that momentum and go and shoot it right in the foot. If you are trying to get to a position where you think it could do these kind of moves. But like I said, it all hinges on a couple of things: that Canaan keeps putting out really good products, which they do. People keep buying those products. Bitcoin keeps doing its thing. They keep stacking Bitcoin, right? And that's what they're doing, right? I said, like, this is where I started to realize my theory that AI isn't all that it's cracked up to be, right? I came up with this theory, I just threw it out into the wind, and then boom, within a couple of days of me postulating this theory, and this wasn't just me like, oh my gosh, I think AI stinks. No, that's not, and people always want to exaggerate my point, right? It's me testing models, right? Me testing ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, etc., then making mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. And many discussions we've had, right? And within, like I said, like a week of me starting to realize this, boom, what comes out? Canaan's like, we're scrapping our AI chip production and we're doubling down and tripling down on our Bitcoin mining operation. And within just that quarter, they wrote off all of that bad debt that they had invested in AI, because they were technically going to get taken out by that AI bubble, and they knew it. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to double down on Bitcoin and we're going to reinvest in Bitcoin. And then what started happening? Oh, their Bitcoin mining operations started to bring in like 100 Bitcoin a month. And they're like, yes. And they realized that Bitcoin is far superior as a technology than AI. And once you realize that, even though AI is awesome, once you realize that, you start to realize what I said. And it just happened this week, and we'll get to your video in like 10 seconds. Just happened this week where they're telling, the Department of Energy is telling AI data centers, you need to shut down because, oh, it's too hot out, right? And what did I say? I said that would happen, right? And now what's going to happen is now these AI data centers will have to become Bitcoin miners, because they will have to have some capability to offset their monetary loss unless they're being paid by the grid operator. Anyway, go ahead. Play the vid.
I was also searching. I think it was Anthropic who sort of made a deal with TerraWolf. Was it not?
Yeah, and again, I hope that what I loosely garnered, because I didn't read that whole article, I just skimmed it. Is that TerraWolf is diverting power to AI, and I don't think that's the smart move. I think they need to learn how to be symbiotic, right? Where there's going to be times where, yes, you have the AI data center humming all the time, but they're going to come to you and say, we need you to power off. And you're going to be like, I can't, I'm lose all this money. Well, boom, you power down. And either if they're not paying you, you have to divert some of that power to ASICs so you can recoup what you're losing by being offline with your AI. But yeah, go ahead and play this video. Was it from Pop?
Yeah, this Jordi Visser.
And I still believe that Bitcoin is going to be the best performer out of all of them once we get to the point that the negatives of AI start to become apparent. And I think they're becoming apparent right now.
Correct.
If the best you can get from the S&P 500 is just a guess, or Qs is 15% a year, and I still believe that Bitcoin is going to be.
So that's basically.
Was it that short?
Yeah, it was
Oh, okay.
basically his,
I didn't know. I didn't know it was going to be like a 10-second soundbite. I thought it was going to be like a minute or so. But no, he's 100% correct, right? Even though there's some people on the left are very alarmist, they're right, right? We have to pay attention. And I've been saying this for months, right? AI is sucking up power. It's sucking up bandwidth. It's sucking up resources, right? We have to put that in check. The only thing that puts that in check is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin makes the green economy possible, and AI steers us away from that green economy long term unless you blend it with a Bitcoin model. And that's what they have to realize is like, I just had an article. Oh, let me see if I can find that. My gosh.
Basically, Bitcoin makes AI manageable and realistic.
Yeah,
Right?
and again, and that's the other thing. It makes it secure, right?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Oh, I'm pretty sure I took this picture. Please, 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 please,
I
please.
also wanted to ask you a question because
Yeah, go ahead.
sentiment at this moment is in the gutter, right? I mean, in the crypto space, only hardcore idealists are still around, like us. But you just mentioned like a few moments ago that you believe, DeFi, NFTs, crypto, the whole shebang, it's coming back. Can you sort of expand on your idea why you think that is the case?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to tag you on this so you can pull this up in a second. Sorry.
No problem.
But this, Bitcoin Live. No, not that Bitcoin Live. The other Bitcoin Live. Nabbit. Bitcoin Live DB. Not the what's always like on my one. When I try and post like directly through iOS, it wants to pull up your one account Bitcoin Live 5, and it's like, no, it's Bitcoin Live DB.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
my
like,
brother, Bitcoin Live 5. And you
okay,
also
that's
got
his account. Got it. Got it. Okay. So if I do tag him, it's him. It's not like some like scammer. That's good to know. But yeah, I'm posting that right now. Why do I think so? Okay, so the first thing is like one of the big macro indicators that I look at when I see crypto markets are coming back is advertisements. So I have been seeing advertisements for Kraken. If you didn't know, they are the official FIFA sponsor crypto exchange for FIFA 2026 this year. So it's not surprising that we've seen ads for them come up over the last couple of months or so. But I'm on TikTok, and most people like, I do different content on different platforms. I don't do the same content on multiple platforms. I'm very weird, but that's just how I do things, right? Like here, I talk about crypto, and X is mostly crypto and Jesus. But on TikTok, I'm literally 98% just Catholic content, right? That's all I talk about is Jesus, Mary, the saints, why you should believe in them, why you should be a Catholic, right? And I'm going through my TikTok feed, and then boom, what do I see? Oh, a guy talking about DeFi, like he's like older than me. Like, let me teach you how to do DeFi, and he knew what he was talking about, like because I listened for like 5 minutes to make sure he wasn't like leading people astray. So he knew what he was doing. Which was cool. But then I got like 2 more videos past that, and it's an ad for Coinbase. And I was like, a Coinbase ad on TikTok? What's going on? Because, I work in sales, right? I work in retail sales. I sell furniture, right? So when I see my company's ads everywhere, I know they spent like literally millions, and in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Their last ad campaign, I think they dropped like 100 mil, like no lie. Right? That's a lot of money just for ads. So when I'm seeing a Coinbase ad come up on TikTok, right, that tells me Coinbase just paid a lot of money for ads. Why would you do that? You want people coming back to the party, right? So I think, again, I see this guy talking about DeFi. I see literally, what's his name? The crazy Australian crypto guy, Crypto Bitlord. He's like, NFTs are coming back. And he usually knows his stuff, you know, even though he sounds like he's bat-ish crazy sometimes with his content. The guy's made a lot of money, right? Like, you know, like if you've ever, you know, invested a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s and seen it go up to like 6 figures, those people know what they're doing, whether you think they're crazy or not, right? Like he's done it multiple times. I've done it a handful of times, right? And when he's saying NFTs and I've seen this guy doing DeFi, and I know people love meme coins, right? There's just something about Doge and you know, it's like pogs of the crypto world, right? Like people love a cute picture and their community and their coin. So I think everything comes back, but it is all really dependent on this Clarity Act. And I know people, Bitcoin doesn't need clarity, but crypto needs the Clarity Act, right? I think Bitcoin is already, like I said, if you look at Africa, it's leapfrogging. If you look what Square did just a couple of months ago in March and unlocked all the Bitcoin payments, even though I've tested this out in the field multiple times, I haven't seen the Bitcoin payments. Just pointing this out to Square. And there, if you look at the map is growing for Square. That's not a lie. I've seen the maps. Bitcoin as a everyday money protocol is growing by leaps and bounds. We have these energy companies figuring out that this is an energy protocol as well, right? It can help you like grid stabilization, right? I don't know. I didn't put that pull. Yeah. So let's get back to this and then we'll get back to that and then we'll wrap up in like 10 minutes. Why? And I guess what? I said this in a space and I said this in our show like just a couple of weeks ago, right? I don't think AI thinks, right? It can't reason. It isn't intelligent. And I gave a very real world example, right? And I'll use that example again. I'm driving down the road, right? Coming back from work, going home. And on the right side of the street when I come home is a baseball field that's right on the side of the middle school there. And I see a baseball in the middle of the street. Now, if you ask the AI, what do you see? It'll say, I see a baseball in the street, right? If you ask a human, they will go, well, I see a baseball on my right. I see a road in the middle. I see some cars on the street. I see a baseball in the street. So the baseball diamond's right here. It's probably a foul ball. Or if it's that other field, the kids, you know, Babe Ruth Jr., and maybe it's a home run, but it's probably a foul ball, right? That's intelligence. The other is just regurgitating data. And it's doing data pulls, right? Anytime you use Grok, anytime you use Gemini or any of these, you ask it a question and it's like, hold on. And what's it doing? It's doing just an automated version of what Google did in a chat version. That's all it's doing. Right? And unless it's a really good LLM, right? Like I tell people, like I've been using that Replit for just a month or so now. It's built more for me in 15 minutes than all the other LLMs I've ever used. Literally, it was like, you want to build this company and this Bitcoin company, mining company? This is a great idea. Let me start for you. And it's like, I'm already building all the stuff in the back end. And here comes the databases. And I'm like, there's no way it's doing this. It literally showed me a working like web page within 10 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. So yes, there is AI I believe in and AI that I think will succeed. It's just we are in the bubble territory, but I think what people don't realize is this bubble can be stretched really far, right? Because right, we're out of the query LLMs and we get into these serious products like Replit and like the other one I use that was really good for data analysis, Julius AI, like these types of LLMs, or like even what Madi's trying to build with QE with Quora, these more niche market LLMs, I think, become successful because they're trying to find a real market, right? Like Replit's like, you want to build this app? And then I gave it another idea. And again, you have to guard your ideas very closely now, people, right? Like you can't share your ideas with anybody anymore. Like I'm sorry to say that. That's like horrible, but you cannot in this new age where that person can in 5 minutes can take your idea, run to one of these apps, build your idea, and pull a Zuckerberg like Winklevi move, right? Right? Like I'm not joking.
Yeah.
So guard your ideas very closely because that's the new thing. That's worth gold in the future. And we already started seeing this with Hollywood. I just read this article how about how Netflix and the big studios are hiring like people from the internet because they see that they can invest in this person for less than a couple $1,000,000, right? Like maybe $800,000 into this person, and then boom, their content yields tens of millions of dollars in watching and ad revenue and etc. That's way more profitable for them than to drop a couple hundred million to get all of these great, actors, directors, writers, and then only make the money back barely that they made. Yeah. So here's Cora, right? And Cora's, what separates Cora and the big news with today is like she's gonna be able to do, agentic stuff into the future. What separates her from all the other AI models that are out there, the LLMs, is that she's got lunar crush data. And lunar crush data is basically a collation of all social media from X to X, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. I'm pretty sure they tap into all of these different social medias and they're seeing what people are in crypto are talking about across all of these social media platforms. And she's tapped into that as well. And also into poly markets, also into Kalshi. So, and obviously, traditional markets as well. So she's going to be able to talk about all types of finance at some point and like, be like, okay, here's what you can do, to save money. And then once you save that money, here's where you can invest that money. If you're into crypto, she'll give you recommendations for crypto. If you're into bonds, she'll give you recommendation into bonds. If you're into equities, she's going to give you recommendation into equities, and help you, easily, have your money work for you and not work so hard for money. And that's,
And she looks damn cute.
yeah, and she's cute. But yeah, like I think everything starts to come back. I think, yes, we're going to see pullback in equities. That's what we've seen. I've always said, Bitcoin is the canary in the coal mine. And it's always reactionary first to all the other markets. And even Lawrence Leber said it's very liquid, right? You just click, and it's usually the first asset to go because it's so easy to dispose of. It's not gold. If you're like somebody who's a gold bug and you got a vault somewhere full of gold and you want to sell it, yeah, it's not a couple clicks unless you're super dialed in, right? You got to hire armored car service. You got to tell them where to be, what time. They got to pick it up. They got to take it here. It's a process, right? Same thing with, if it's a brokerage firm and you've got a couple like $100,000 you want to move, they're like, sure thing, Mr. Smith. It'll happen by, let's see, July 20th. We'll have all that hammered out. And you're like, that's like 2 weeks away almost, right? And that's just how it is. But Bitcoin, clickety click.
So with the treasury, the Bitcoin strategic treasury of the United States, you think it will be done this year, or or the Clarity Act for that matter?
Yeah,
Because
I think the Clarity Act gets passed right at the end of summer, right before they go on their little break. Which is annoying as F because most Americans work, like close to 275 to 300 days a year, right? Like, even more than that, right? And most people in our government work like 150 days a year. It's a joke. It's a big joke. And you get paid a buttload of money for the rest of your life, even when you're out. Like, that's the first thing. If I ever get into politics, it's gone. No, we're not paying politicians after they retire. They got tons of money that they earned in the stock market doing illegal trades, right? You don't need this other extra income. If you're not going to bust them for doing all this insider trading, then they can take those profits and go to wherever country and have fun or go buy property in Alaska or whatever they want to do. But I'm not paying you 200K or whatever for the rest of your life. It's bull
But
crap. Anyway.
if it's before the recess, that would be like this month, right? Or is
Yeah, I think it's August 4th is when they go on their recess until like September, like it's right after Labor Day, right? Which is a joke, right? Like it's like,
wouldn't you then
you guys just get like a month and a half off right in the middle of summer. Must be nice. And you're making 200K a year. Must be nice. Yeah, it's
But if they pass clarity and the Bitcoin reserve this month or end of this month, then
I
you
mean,
would expect the markets to ignite, right?
yeah, well, I mean, I think we're going to start to see it. Like I said, from a micro level, I think the World Cup was a success. You know, even though people
Oh,
have
by
their
the way,
opinions.
Morocco, France.
Is it on right now?
I think in an hour or so, or is it on now? I'm not sure. I
What
thought
time is the Morocco match?
Morocco faces
Yeah, in about 40 minutes or so.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of France. I hope Morocco, Morocco's been playing very well. They have an amazing defender, they have an amazing goalie. It's going to be a match, but Mbappe is Mbappe, and he's not Messi, but he's like Messi light, right? Let's be very clear. He can just come out of nowhere and score from almost anywhere on the field. Like
I wouldn't mind if Morocco wins.
you're rooting for the
France,
underdog.
yeah, France is so boring and they win all the time.
I know, but I have to, red, white, and blue. I got to root for Mbappe and crew, but that's just me. But I personally, like I said, I personally think that FIFA is successful on their mission in North America, and at a micro level. I mean, just look at what the Scots did to Boston. I mean, they literally sold out a beer in like one of the biggest drinking towns in America, right? Like that's unprecedented, historical, insane. But those local vendors, they're having a great effing year. I'm just saying, right?
They need to pay
And
in
that
Bitcoin.
what's that? Yeah, they should. Again, I highly recommend, anybody that has a Square terminal in the United States of America, yes, don't convert your Bitcoin back to Tether or fiat S coins or fiat paper dookie money. Keep it as Bitcoin, right? I think I don't think I shared this, but let me see. I think I have it right here. This is Ray Dalio, right? Like this is Ray. Where is he? Come on. I think
He's switching a little bit, Ray.
Oh yeah, he's starting to get it because he's starting to realize like Bitcoin isn't just a monetary protocol, it's an energy / monetary protocol. And once you start to realize that, like I said, the sky is the limit. Oh yeah, radar chat. Here's another something I shared the other day, another one of thousands of applications that will be built with Bitcoin. So it's very similar to BitChat, but BitChat is a mesh, Bluetooth mesh net. And you can do Bitcoin transactions through BitChat. This is Radar Chat. Radar Chat is basically you have your self-custodial Lightning wallet and encrypted messaging. So it's basically like Signal with an LND payments network built channel on it, if that makes sense. If you're into tech, that made sense. If you're not, sorry. But this is really cool, and it's the same people that built Cake Wallet. And I've always told people, if you want to use MWeb, the Cake Wallet is a really easy way to use Litecoin in the MWeb, and that's why I'm a firm believer in both of these products. Right, I think Cake Wallet is a good wallet. I haven't downloaded Radar yet to check it out, but it's a really cool idea. And again, just another one of many applications that will be built utilizing the Bitcoin network and or protocol or both. And in this case, it is both, where they're using encryption. I don't know what level encryption they're using, but I think it's Signal. I think if I read the article correctly, it's like the same API is signals, whole foundational cryptography. So it's secure, and that's where we need to start going, right? I've been saying this for years. All data needs to be encrypted because AI is not safe. And to protect ourselves from AI, we need encrypted protocols and networks. And that's why I'm a firm believer in proof of work protocols, because they're way safer than these proof of stake protocols and these DPoS networks, et cetera, et cetera. I've shown the problems with DPoS networks from time and time again, where I've always used the EOS model, where the RAM got really expensive in EOS and there are 21 block producers. Somebody would start running out of money and they're like, okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this block producer and we'll put you in as a block producer because you have money. Oh, you're out of money? You're out of being a block producer. We'll find somebody else with money. Click. And it was just like, this is not right. Right. And again, why I'm not a fan of Ethereum anymore is because smart contracts break, people make changes, stuff happens. It's not like Bitcoin where you can just hodl and just forget about it. Right. Oh yeah, I was about to send you that Ray Dalio tweet. I think I found it, and I think I just sent it to you. And this is huge, right? This is Ray Dalio, right? Like, let's pay very attention. This is one of the guys who's one of the 1%ers of the world who goes to Davos every year, right? He manages tons of money for very wealthy people. But look how much his allocation he's saying now. And I disagree with this. It should be double that, right? It should be 30 to 50%. Everyone knows paper money is starting to look very peaked these days because digital money is right around the corner. And we've seen it time and time again, right? If we look at just look at the Turkish lira over just the last couple of months, it's a joke. Yeah, listen to Nick laugh. These paper monies, the dollar will be last because it has such, this hydra.
Turkey has a huge amount. I think it used to have the highest amounts of Bitcoin holders for a long time. Turkish people.
Yeah, no, the crypto is very big in Turkey. I mean, because people in Turkey aren't stupid, right? They realize that their paper money is only injected into their country's economy, so it doesn't have penetration like the dollar or the what do they call it, the African franc, right? Like where they, there's multiple countries that France makes paper money for, right? There's multiple countries that use the US dollar because they know it's way more safe than their money or the money that's in their region, right? And these local, like I said, these regional paper monies start to fail first because they don't have like a hydra like stranglehold on multiple economies like the African franc or the US dollar does. And that's why the US dollar will be one of the last to, all these people are like, the dollar's going to die tomorrow. No, it's too pervasive into too many economies for it to just go, when people want to use the Weimarand or like Zimbabwe, it's like, yes, if the dollar was just used here, we probably would have already pooped the bed 10 times over. But the dollar is used in almost every continent in the world, right? Even Antarctica uses dollars, right? Let's be clear. That's a fact. And if we just peer into the, just short-term to mid-term future, right, they're trying to defend the dollar, right? I posted up a tweet the other day, right? They just took away Iran's ability to sell oil globally. Well, why would they do that? Oh, because they want to mess with the price of oil. And what happened? Oh, the price of oil went up like 6% in like 10 minutes. Surprise. So all of this positioning, all this economic positioning is really what's going on, even though I know the US has just gone back in and hammered with some more military attacks in the region. But that's because Iran, wants to attack civilian vessels. As much as people can say they hate the US across the globe, I literally tell people we are the least empirical empire in history. And people are like, bull crap, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I mean, go ask ChatGPT, go ask Grok, go ask Gemini, go ask any one of these LLMs who killed the most people in like empires, right? And it's like, you know who's at the top? I'm pretty sure it's the British. No offense, and like the Mongolians are up there. But the U.S. is like in top, I think 20. I think we're in like top 15. So we actually have gained a lot of our land, which a lot of people don't want to point this out, right? The Louisiana Purchase, we bought it, right? We convinced France is king, right, to sell it to us. Alaska, we bought from Russia, right? This is another purchase. So most of the land we acquired, we did
You
through
also
business
bought
deals.
New York from the Dutch.
Yes, exactly. We bought New York from the Dutch. We bought Louisiana also from I think we just talked about that Louisiana purchase, the Alaskan purchase, the Dutch purchase. We did fight for a lot of the West. We did fight with Spain and Mexico over a whole bunch of the Southwest.
Yeah.
But for the majority of our expansion as an empire was done mainly through business deals and acquisitions, and most people don't want to point that out. We've killed the least amount of people to acquire the most amount of geographic size in the last 100 years, and that should point volumes to why it's better to use diplomacy and business strategy to build your empire than to use
and
force, even
finance.
though we have used force a lot. I'm not going to deny that.
And of course, weaponization of your money.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that we've done, and we're not the first civilization to do that, but and I don't think that it's going to end in the next 5 or 10 years. But Bitcoin, this is why I think when I say Bitcoin was sent from God, it really is uncorruptible, right? And it's immutable, right? And that's one of the underlying things that when you start to learn about God, God's immutable, Bitcoin's immutable. I was like, and then you see that quote from Da Vinci, and you're like, wait a second, how could Leonardo da Vinci know about Bitcoin 500 years before it was invented and discovered? Oh God, that's how. Well, anyway, let's wrap it up on that. I'll let
Yep.
you all think on that one for a minute. I am going to try and write an article connecting all the dots of why I think God gifted us this miracle that is called Bitcoin. And it's to protect us from this money debasement. God never you can look at multiple religions. God doesn't want more than 10%. And in many countries around the world, in Western countries, 10% is a dream. Like 10% is like a dream world. You go to your country, I think you guys pay like 30 to 40% in taxes, right? Like easily. The United States, most people pay 30 to 35% in taxes, right? If
You're getting there.
yeah, we're right in the same range, and it's just ridiculous that you can't do this with Bitcoin. This is why it's so important that we don't we have to come to this fork in the road where yes, AI will be an important tool that will lead to helping people build many great things. But there's also the article that I shared the other day where Reddit's now using AI to fight AI spam. Shocker. And I think these are some of the things that AI will be great at, right? Reducing AI slop, right? Like if it's not good AI content, why should it be shared? So you made an AI generated picture. No one cares. Literally. Right? Nobody cares. You show it to your family, right? Like I've made a couple I share with my inner circle. No one wants to see that on the internet. I think AI is amazing at doing cybersecurity and keeping bad actors out of so many networks and protocols from Verizon, AT&T, Amazon, right? I've been warning for years that there's been these evil bot networks that run on these protocols that have been sending us texts and emails for years, right? Like that's not safe, right? And all of this gets decorrupted by Bitcoin, right? if you're focusing your energy on Bitcoin and building a Bitcoin business or building a Bitcoin model behind your business, you're not spamming people to try and scam some grandma in Ohio for $75, right? You're taking that computational power, you're putting it towards a node in the Bitcoin network, you're putting it towards a Litecoin node, or maybe some ASICs in the Litecoin or the Bitcoin network. But yeah, I think everything starts to come back. It's going to be some time. But I
So
think the big,
everybody should start building their own treasury.
oh yeah, I mean, whatever, and I said this in the Telegram chat, whatever you've been stacking, as long as you're seeing it do this, keep stacking it. If it keeps going down, let it go. It's okay, right? Like sometimes you just can fold, right? And like don't even sell it, because that's the other thing I've learned about being in these markets, right? These market makers see you sell this huge
Yeah.
position that was like $1,000 at one point, now it's
Then it
10
goes up.
bucks. They're like, scoop, and literally it gets bought up in 5 minutes. And then here comes this green candle.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
Roger.
So always, even those dookie positions that's sitting in that phantom wallet that you're like, oh, I'm just gonna sell it for $5 worth of Solana. Don't do it. And then you're gonna come back and like next year, and that dookie coin that you thought was the dookie coins, all of a sudden it's $1, and you're like, Solana, sell. But yeah, I think everything comes back because the future is crypto. I mean, it encrypts money, right? It encrypts energy. I mean, Bitcoin, this is why Bitcoin's far superior to everything else, is because it has so many circles in its Venn diagram that puts it way above so many other things. The only other thing somebody asked me is like, well, what else do you think? I think BNB does well. They just
They're the Amazon of crypto.
say that again.
The Amazon of crypto.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically, I mean, I can't wait until Americans can have access to old school Binance again, because it was one of my favorite exchanges of all times. Like people want to hate on CZ, but he was one of the most straightest shooting guys out there. He wants people to have access to easy finance, and he wants everyone to have financial freedom. And I know that sounds insane, but if you've ever listened to his speeches, he's a real straight up kind of guy. But the whole deal that they just launched, tokenized stretch on BNB. So I mean, it is what it is. Not financial advice, but BNB looks like they're going to be one of these protocols that are doing all of these tokenized money markets, tokenized equities, tokenized stocks, tokenized obviously tokens, tokenized, meme coins. They're the place where, even though people are like, oh, Binance is going down. I'm like, dude, did you ever look at the volume on Binance? Like I do, because I'm a nerd. They do like on a bad day, right? On a
BNB
bad day, they're doing like 30 billion on a bad day. Like in a bear market, they're doing like 30 billion daily volume. And they're still doing like, go pull it up. I bet you it's like 60 to 100 billion now. Like now, right now. Yeah. Like hit the last bear market, it was like 30 billion. People are like, they're going down. I'm like, dude, they're pulling in like 30 billion in volume a day, and it's the bear market. What are you talking about? People like to gamble, man. Kalshi and Polymarket have proven this, right? And
I think BNB is still like, what is it, $600?
yeah, I mean, it went up to like 1,000 like a few months back, I think, right? It was like 900 or 1,000.
Well,
And
the
it's
rest of
come,
the market
yeah,
tanked.
it's a 50% discount as well. So the fact that it's, that it's almost mirroring the same discount as Bitcoin, is very telling to me that it's, like I said, that's why you want to, whatever you're stacking, you want to see it have like some kind of action. If it's flatlining or just declining, there's no green days at all. You just, yeah, let it just forget about it, right? But you always, whatever you're investing in, right? Whether it's equities, meme coins, utility coins, Bitcoin, Monero, Litecoin, whatever. Especially the proof of work things, those things, have no top, right? Bitcoin has no top. And at some point, Litecoin has no top, because once the energy game gets really serious, well, ASIC mining and Bitcoin universe, it's starting to, bump heads with other parts of the grid. Well, we have to then switch to a less intensive form of mining. And guess who's right behind them? Litecoin. And when you look, I tell people that are anti-Litecoin people, just go look at the mining profitability of the top 5 coins, and it's like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and it's like either Monero or something else like right in there, right? But it's like Litecoin's like number 2 or 3 every like month for like a long time. So when people think it's not profitable, you're looking at it from your lens, right? You're not looking at through the big picture, which is that, it does have privacy now. It has fungibility. There's a whole bunch of Litecoin that have gone on to MWeb that nobody knows about. Nobody's built a tracker for the MWeb, channel, right? I'm pretty sure no one's built one yet. And of course, I'll go search for one. Like I searched for one, like maybe like I think 6-7 months ago, and there wasn't. I bet you there's one coming, or if there isn't, there might even be one out now. But a lot of that money is going to the MWeb, so most people don't realize it's like all this money is being absorbed by Litecoin that nobody knows about because the channel is private, right? Which is a good thing. And this is where I tell people you're not big picturing it, right? Bitcoin can't do payroll, right? Ethereum could do payroll until it breaks. Litecoin can do payroll. Do you see where I'm going with that? Litecoin can do payroll. Bitcoin cannot. Ethereum cannot. Litecoin can
People
do
would say
payroll. Let me say that again.
XRP, Gerald.
Oh yeah, of course, XRP. Yeah, till Brad Garlinghouse and everyone in the chair owns like less than 100, I don't want to hear about XRP because what's his name? The guy who invented XLM and Jed McCaleb. Yeah, until he has like less than a couple hundred, I don't want to hear jack squat, because every time XRP goes up like 100% or 50%, it literally within a week it hits this like, oh, it's back to $1 or it's back to $3 or whatever. It makes this massive move, and then here comes Jed McHale. It's like, oh, I've got several hundred million still. I'm just gonna sell like 10 mil. Dump. Here goes Brad Garlinghouse. Dump. And then the price goes pew. So you're gonna keep fighting them. Every time it pumps, they're gonna dump on you. Everyone on that board has literally a sell position in some exchange, right? It's a sell order. It hits this amount, sell, right? Not every single one of them, but I bet you 5 out of the 10 people on the board have sell orders. It hits $10, sell, right? So, especially McCaleb. Maybe not the rest of the board, but I will guarantee McCaleb's got sell orders on probably even his own exchange, right? Because I'm pretty sure XLM still got like a decentralized like own kind of exchange, and I'm pretty sure he's got an XRP XLM pairing. I wouldn't be surprised. You see where I'm going with this? Like, put the dots together, people. Use your own brain. Use your own thought power. Because no, XLM had problems with their block producers some years back, right? So XLM is like at its scale, it's garbage. XRP, its scale, it's garbage, right? It starts to break down. The same things start to happen. It's great when you're using it from point A to point B and you're moving like a couple million coins. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. You start doing global commerce through XRP. I guarantee you it breaks in like an hour.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, I mean, again, people don't want to hear these things, but everyone thinks their stuff's the best until they put it to the test. And then you put it to the test. I've seen it like, oh, ours is, a DAG and it can do all, look at Phantom. Look, we're decentralized acyclical graph, chain. And we can do 50,000 TPS, blah, blah, blah. And then Phantom breaks. Oh, what happened? I thought you guys could do 50,000 TPS and you're barely doing 10 and it breaks. Hello. Are you paying attention? Everyone has all these pie in the sky dreams. And in testing, it does swimmingly well, but you put it into the real world, it breaks. It breaks. It breaks. It breaks. Solana breaks. Solana breaks. Solana breaks. Solana breaks. I'm just being, these are facts, people, right? I'm not being a D-hole. I'm just trying to show you what doesn't break. Litecoin. What doesn't break? Monero. What doesn't break? Bitcoin. What doesn't break? The Lightning Network. It's way more solid than like a lot of protocols out there. And when people talk ish on the Lightning Network, I'm like, okay, clearly you don't get how this stuff works, right? Old school Lightning Network, garbage. Yes, it's not the same anymore, right? You see, just the other day, Ardino and team at Tether were coming back to Bitcoin. Oh, shocker. Wonder why. Wonder why. These people are literally moving hundreds of millions of dollars around every month. And they're like, we're coming back to a proof of work protocol. Wonder why, y'all. We're going to wrap on that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, a lot of my prognostications, they're not that far out there, right? They're just good analysis, good solid analysis where I read tons of articles. I used to test stuff all the time. I don't test everything all the time anymore because I know there's so many like booty products out there now that are just like, yeah, I don't want to throw Noster under the bus, but it's just like they come out and people are like, you see it all over X, like, oh, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best, and then you go on and you're like, yeah, it's all right. You know what I mean? The same thing with BitChat. I love BitChat, but nobody's using it in the United States because it's not a necessity, right? If the web went down like it has in multiple countries, right? We've talked about this many times. What's the next app that comes real popular? Oh, BitChat. All of a sudden, it's numbered 5 or 1 in their country because people want to mess. The powers that be want to mess with their power controls, right? We see Russia do this time and time again. We see African countries that have poor grids accidentally and on purpose do this to their own customers, right? And this is why, again, AI is, again, inflationary against energy infrastructure and against your local economy, and Bitcoin is deflationary against energy infrastructure and your local economy. And that's the huge fork in the road, is that one's going to make your electricity go up over the next 10 years. One's going to make electricity go down in your local economy over the next 10 years. Which one do you want to pick? And people think both are the bad guys, and no, Bitcoin's the good guy. Bitcoin fixes the environment. Bitcoin brings the price of electricity down. Bitcoin makes it possible so you can run your AC in Texas at 105 degrees in the middle of summer.
They're like the yin and the yang, right? They need each other. They keep each other in balance.
I think Bitcoin I think AI needs Bitcoin more than Bitcoin needs AI, because Bitcoin is an artificially intelligent network, right? It self-adjusts its own difficulty. It does that every 2 weeks. Nobody's sitting there like with a guide or a slide rule and doing math and like trying to figure it out. It's like, boom, it drops, boom, it goes up. So Bitcoin, I tell people, is like the first artificially intelligent ecosystem.
It's an organism.
Yeah, and it's been living and doing its own thing for, almost 16 years now, 99 almost percent uptime. So I think it's going to keep doing its thing for, like I said, for another probably 1,000+ years, as long as we don't get into, lobbing thermonuclear devices at each other. The good news is, if you survive that and you can get the internet back, if you're on Bitcoin or a Litecoin blockchain, your information is probably still there if we have nodes in safe parts of the world, right?
Or on other planets.
or on another planet, or in on a satellite, right?
Yes.
Highly recommend that this is just me on the top of my head. Litecoin Foundation. It's time to get a couple satellites running the Litecoin network in space as well. There's already, I think, 5 or 6 for the Bitcoin network, but it's time. Litecoin Foundation put up a couple satellites and run some nodes in space, because it just makes the network safer. Just saying. Anyway, on that note, thanks you for hanging out. Yes, the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, it's happening. One of my biggest recommendations is we do start the Bitcoin Mining Authority. I would love to be on the board at my state level, at the federal level, whatever.
Got my
But we'll
vote.
we put an office in every state. We look for stranded energy. We find it. We start mining, right? And then the state gets a cut. The Fed gets a cut, and the local jurisdiction gets their share. And guess what? We're just building out this beautiful circular economy. And then, as we go forward in time, the reserve just starts to build on itself, because there's just all of this mining PPS coming in. And all those little slivers just start going into these different federal decentralized multi-sig wallets, and America becomes the Bitcoin capital of the universe. It's as simple as that. It really is. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thank you to all our sponsors at Quantum Expeditions, Shieldfolio, Deorganized Media, and everyone that has a show at the Bitcoin Live Network. Also, thank you to my co-host and producer Nick for hanging out and putting up with my, long-winded, verbose analysis at times.
And also, we're on Beyond the Block. So
yes, we're on Beyond the Block as well, which is our buddy Matty Sat's Bitcoin and blockchain news service. So check it out on there as well. And thank you for all the people that hanging out, because I think there was like 25 to 35 people watching today. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate all the viewers, and share the knowledge, right? Because that's where it's really at. Teach people how to do a Bitcoin transaction, teach people how to do a Lightning transaction, because in another couple of years, if you don't know how to do these things, you're going to be a huge disadvantage in the world. This is just a fact. Have a good one. Peace.
Take care.
All right, we're gonna